Welcome to Everything Life Coaching. I'm John Kim.
And I'm Noelle Cordeaux. We are the founders of Lumia.
And we're super passionate about all things coaching, and we want to share what we've learned from over a decade of coaching and training thousands of life coaches.
Let's dive into the science and magic of coaching.
Good morning. On today's episode, we're going to break down, is coaching right for you? And if so, which coach training program you should take?
Yes, this is a great topic. And this is timely because so many people are considering coaching right now for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I was in an open house with some of our future Lumia students last night, and human after human were talking about the burnout that they experienced in different fields, not being values aligned and wanting to do something differently. And they're coming to the space of coaching. And so I thought that what we could do is shed some light on where coaching's at and where the opportunities are now and what goes into the consideration of a coach training program.
Yeah. I mean, most people have no idea what a coaching program entails, what to look for, what makes it valuable. It's very kind of abstract, and very few coaching companies actually pull that curtain back and show you, what they have to offer.
Agreed. And it can be very overwhelming. It's like when you start Googling, there are so many different options, and it's really hard to tell what's what, who's who, and what's going on. And especially because the pace of the coaching industry is expanding so fast right now that this is a dynamic world where coach training has become a really powerful skill set that at once upon a time, I think when you and I started, coaching was all about building that solo practice. And more and more and more, we're seeing that our graduates take the principles of coaching and then apply it in so many different ways in addition to a private practice. So
that's what's exciting for me, is to watch and see how creative they get, and how it lines up with their story and their gifts.
Yeah, it's incredible. So let's dive into the really specific ways that coaching is expanding, and then we can kind of tackle all the different kinds of programs and what are the things to look for. So the first piece that I keep seeing is corporate environments. So placing this in the context of the wellness marketplace, it sits squarely within workforce wellness. And this is an area that has just like a microscope on it right now. Everybody's looking at workforce wellness because we're in a really tricky time in terms of economy, scarcity, changing values. The world is changing. The world is shifting under our feet. And corporate environments are trying to figure out, how do we train people? How do we sustain them mentally, emotionally? How do we create buy-in? So, what are you seeing in your world in the employment space? What's going on? What's going on in LA?
One of the things I think is, because I'm not that familiar with the corporate world, but from friends and other people I know who have startups, coaching is almost becoming like foundational in the infrastructure of a company. So, of course, what's important is our employees are happy. And today's definition of happy is, how you live, freedom, all of that. And I think coaching / life coaching is now just kind of coming in, and it comes with it. It's as common as like when you work for a company, they have health insurance. It's just kind of a common thing now, or it's becoming more and more common.
Absolutely. It's coaching is really starting to replace a lot of the traditional skills associated with being a manager. And so, one of the things that I like about the ICF coaching credential is that it's an entry point for people who might not have had, managerial experience in the past, but you do have this skill set that allows you to work with people, set goals, hold them accountable in a really positive and generative way that lends itself to cultural competency within an organization.
Let me ask you
So
this: for people who don't know ICF, why do you think that's important when you're looking for coach training?
yeah, so ICF stands for the International Coaching Federation. And a way to think about this is through analogy, right? So when we think about a psychologist, or a therapist, the American Psychological Association is the accrediting body that waves their magic wand and says, you are a therapist. And so in the world of coaching, the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, is the same thing. It's the accrediting body that has these global, and when I say global, I literally mean global, the entire globe, ethics and standards that says this is what it means to be a coach. This is how a coach works. This is how a coach conducts themselves, and why this is important for people who are considering becoming a coach is when you're working as a coach, you are working with human subjects. And that's a weird term. You've heard it in therapy land, right?
Yeah.
Human subjects. So what does that mean? It means that there's a genuine layer of responsibility that you have as a coach to be trained properly so that when you go in to do your job and work with people, you're doing it from a foundation of ethics, training, and frameworks that you can rely on, right? So it gives you confidence, support, legitimacy, real training, real tools to be able to do your job well.
Yeah, it gives. You know what it does is it builds trust. Because coaching is, as you say, the wild, wild west. You want to look for a coach training program that is trusted, that has some kind of badge, is following some kind of ethical procedure. If not, you have no idea what you're learning, and if it's proper.
If it's proper.
Yeah.
And, on the concept of trust and how individuals relate to their coach training program, my perspective is that the most important relationship based in trust that you're building as a coach is the one with yourself as a coach practitioner.
Yeah.
And at Lumia, one of the things that we talk about is that our entire program was built and designed to really combat isolation and toxic individuality, and this idea that you have to do it all alone. And, one of the first things we do is we ask you to set down your bags when you come in, and we help you, and we help you find your voice and harness your voice so that you can begin building trust with yourself. Because you and I have been on this journey of pushing out into the world with our voices. You know how terrified I've been over the years, and you don't become someone who is trusted and effective in the marketplace, whether that's a corporate space, an entrepreneurship space, or a wellness space, unless you're able to trust yourself in terms of what you're doing and putting out into the world.
I think one of the things about Lumia that I love so much is, instead of it being just about becoming a life coach, it's more about how can we change your life? How can we raise your potential? How can we build a community for you so you feel less alone? And so you're kind of working from the inside out. And then let's also teach you tools to help other people. So it's very life-changing. And not a lot of training programs are life-changing. They're very, here's how to get clients kind of thing. And then you run into imposter syndrome, or you run into do I really believe I can do this, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, completely. And this takes us, I think, really nicely to the next area where coaches are having a tremendous impact. And this is in the world of entrepreneurship and small business. Because one of the things that happens in coach training is an emphasis on skills to foster effective communication, to build strong relationships, to enhance collaboration. And so if you're thinking about starting your own coaching practice, or you're someone who wants to work with small businesses, coach training helps you to understand your customers' needs, how to center the client effectively, how to communicate with stakeholders, how to help people develop leadership abilities. And it puts a framework for building these meaningful connections and making informed decisions so that you and others can overcome challenges on the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to think about these things when you are considering a coach training program. I'm sure there's a lot of banners to click on. I think there's a lot of people saying, check this out. But make sure you do a deep dive.
Yeah, absolutely. Another place where we're seeing a huge influx of coaching is in education and academia. And this is starting, oh my goodness, it's actually a really cool space. So it's starting in like K through 8 with a need for coaches to come in and coach teachers and administrators on things like communication, self-care, wellness, mindfulness, restorative practices to make the school systems as a whole healthier. So folks who are teachers who are wanting to transition into coaching, like this is a huge space that's actively developing. And then once we get to high school, we're seeing the same need to support the administrators and teachers because things just get more intense in high school, but we're also starting to see this kickoff into centering the students themselves and nurture them in terms of their strengths, their values, their career aspirations. And then that flows all the way through the college and even graduate school level. What I mean, thinking back to your experience and my experience in graduate school, what would it have been like for you if you had a coach at any point in your educational journey to sit with you and be like, here's what this shit really means?
Yeah. There's, I was a school counselor at a charter school for a year or two to get hours when I was becoming a therapist. And there's a shortage. I couldn't see, all the kids that wanted to see me. So just this idea that deploying coaches into education, into the trenches, teachers being burned out, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's much needed.
Yeah, it is. It is. And this is where we go back to the relevancy of the ICF credential, because when you're in a space of, education and school systems are rightfully so structured in terms of who has permissions, who has access, who has been cleared from a security perspective to come in and work in a school system. What we're seeing, people who are coming through the doors of Lumia are saying, I applied for this job. They really love me. And the barrier that I found was I didn't have the ICF credential. Everything else was perfect and it lined up. And so it's that credential that takes you to a place of being able to take all of the skills that you've developed in life and then apply them as a coach to the area that you really want to get into.
I love that also. It's not because, about 7 years ago, coaching was very popular and glossy on social media. I love that now it's like, you don't even have to use social media. If that's not your thing, you don't have to start a podcast. Places like education and corporate are spaces that already have, an audience. It's not something where you are like me in your garage starting, with 0 followers and trying to build something.
Yeah. And this is changing in the space of health and wellness as well, where, I think once upon a time, the influencer route felt like the only possible pathway. And now we're seeing so many different entry points to this space from, digital apps like BetterUp that are hiring coaches, legit, like hiring a lot of freaking coaches to work on their platform and serve clients, or gyms that are beginning to have life coaches on staff alongside personal trainers. What's been your experience in the wellness space with the evolution of coaching?
Yeah, it's constantly changing. It's changing fast. The other thing that's happening is coaching used to be when someone said life coach, people would cringe, but now it's standard language. It's I'm talking to my coach today. or my relationship coach, or my, what, all the different type of coaches, and no one bats an eye anymore. And I think that means that society has kind of accepted coaching.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And something that I'm seeing in my own private practice. So like over the years, I've kept maybe 3 or 4 clients at a time because I like it, because I love my humans, and it brings me a lot of joy to do this work. And I'm starting to see like an uptick in the health and wellness arena, because what I do is very much based in relationships, and it's like everybody shows up all at once. It's like it'll be quiet for a little bit, and then all of my old clients are like, hey, I need you. And so, if you're considering working in the health and wellness space, one of the pieces to consider is how much need there is out there right now for people to dice through their relationships, their health, athletic performance that was once reserved, truly for athletes is moving into generalized spaces as people are thinking about, well, how do I age gracefully? How do I age mentally? Sexuality is still just a huge space where people are tapping into the need for coaching, purpose, meaning, spirituality.
Yeah, it goes on. Men's work.
And
also, I was going to say, a lot of people creating their own retreats, and this new definition of retreats. They don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be exotic. Retreats can be 6 people, over the weekend at an Airbnb. And so a lot of people helping other people in group, community, face-to-face, and getting a lot of joy out of that. Me included. Yeah.
Something that's coming up for me that I think is really important is taking a look at the conversation that we're having and just really noticing the pattern of how quickly things change and shift in the space of coaching. And so when we're thinking about coach training programs, one of the things that I talk to people about often is I might have somebody who comes in and says, well, I'm going to be a health coach. I should go to a health coach training program. When I started out a million years ago, 16 years ago to be exact, that's actually what I wanted to do, was to be a health coach. And I didn't go down that path. I chose an ICF credential instead. And I'm so freaking glad that I did, because it allowed me to adapt and change as the field adapted and changed. And I would have never been able to grow and maneuver as I did if I had training in a really specific niche area as the core understanding of, well, this is all I can do, right? So it's I think it's worthwhile to note that when you're looking at coach training programs, think about not only yourself right now, but yourself as you're expanding into the future. We have no idea what the future is going to be like.
Yeah, go wide, and then you have the time to find a niche and go more narrow. If you go into something very specific and you get accredited for that, it's hard to then go wide again.
Yeah, it is. And it adds up in terms of the amount of time in your investment. Another area that we're seeing a lot of need for coaches is supporting people in nonprofit and social impact. And this is a huge topic of our time. One of the things that I've become really intellectually interested in recently is, as coaches who are not trained as therapists, what are the tools that we need in order to support people with the level of grief that's taking place in our time? So thinking about environmental grief, thinking about social justice, thinking about impact, thinking about war, thinking about, all of the things that literally I wake up in the morning and hurt me, and then thinking about the people who are activists, who are out there like fighting, that I'm grateful to for doing that work. They need support too. They need coaching to stay the path, because one of the things that we know about goal accomplishment is that the hardest part is the messy middle. When you can't see the other side, when your life is going bonkers and everything's falling apart and you think you can't take one more step. And that's where the support of a coach really comes into play, to help people stay focused, keep it together, and really take that next step.
It's so important. I mean, because when you're talking about this, yes, social justice, war, all the things that are happening in the world today, but also divorce, also,
Yes.
things that your teenager going through stages, or all the just life seasons that we go through, and a lot of times go through alone.
Yeah, no, I know. And, this is where, when you're looking at a coach training program, I think values alignment is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And for me at Lumia, one of the things that I try and you try to embody is vulnerability, and saying the hard things out loud. Acknowledging that our time is very difficult to live through.
Yeah.
And acknowledging that the people who are stepping forward as helpers deserve care themselves. And it's really frustrating for me to be in a space of coaching, to be in a space where things are sterile, and there's almost a forced ignorance of what's seething underneath the surface. And I would really like to foster environments for other helpers where we're talking about this stuff and saying, wow, it's actually hard. It's hard to exist. It's hard to hold space. It's hard to live my own life. What do I need as a coach? What do I need as a helper? So if you're coming from a perspective where a lot of these things matter to you, and you get yourself into a program where a lot of these things are ignored, it's going to cause cognitive dissonance and pain for you as a coach practitioner to go through it. And that's true of anything in life. When your values are overrun, you experience pain.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Lumia.
Yeah. So, when people are thinking about becoming a coach, especially coming into our program, most people don't know exactly what they want to focus on as a coach. And so I'll give you a great example, and I love your perspective. I was at an awesome open house last night. New students that are so magical, and one woman is a veteran. She served 23 years. She's also an RN, and she said, "I have a story to tell, but I have so many stories. I don't know how to tell them. I think I want to be a public speaker, but I have no idea how to do it. I want to be a coach. I don't know how to do that. And I need help with pulling all of these pieces together." And, the first thing I did was thank her for her service and say, wow, what a life you've lived. And then the second thing I did was to normalize that experience. So what would you say to somebody who's at the starting line feeling like the popcorn of all of the things that they want to do?
Yeah. So feeling overwhelmed, not knowing where to start. How do you do this? I think the value that we provide is watching other students do it in real time, because you feel less alone, and it gives you some kind of roadmap. And I also think that the diversity, meaning like eating a Reese's peanut butter cup, there's no right way, And so I think when there's other training programs that say if you do this, this, and this, then you get this, I think that can be misleading, because the careers we build is all like different and unique to the individual. And so at Lumia, seeing all different people with different niches finding their way. So whether they're speaking or writing books or running retreats, building private practices, everyone does it in a different way, including myself. And so seeing all this definitely injects hope and gives someone clarity and calm, and just like fuel, like, oh, if they can do it, they can find their way, I can too.
Yeah, this is why our open houses are so impactful, is that they give people a chance to come in and not only meet me and some of our crew, but to meet the other people who are showing up, because the inspiration that you get from the people around you who become your best friends, your peers, your role models, really matter in the coach training journey in terms of, what you're going to get out of the experience and how you're going to feel. So I would, look for ways to engage with organizations that'll give you a sense of who the other people are, that are coming in. And two, as you mentioned, diversity. We have over 25 instructors with such diverse backgrounds. Everybody has a different way of working. Yeah. And so not only do you have access to your peer set, but you have access to all of these cool instructors that are so generous with their time, and even your own office hours of sitting with folks and saying, well, this is how I published a book. This is how I started my podcast. It's the little things like that that create a level of community and care that I think, for me at least, represents the new way of adult learning, of adult education, of work, the future of work. Another piece is the techniques in the curriculum. So when we're thinking about ICF programs, International Coaching Federation programs, everybody has the same standards that they have to follow. It's the flavor that it makes the difference, right? It's the flavor of how you're learning. And we've taken the time to develop our curriculum so that it is engaging, it is interesting, it is evidence-based, it is science-backed, and it's really powerful. Like, folks who take your containers class are like, man, like this concept like changed my life. It resonated with me. So what is the experience that you have inside the classroom like with students?
Yeah, I think, well, for me in my class, just bringing it to street level. So every, you mentioned we have 25 different instructors and they're all different. And so I always compare it to like the giant box of crayons. So not just the primary colors, but the crayons that, the colors you can't pronounce. I feel like the Lumia instructors are like that, the big 64 pack. And what's beautiful about that is you not only experience diversity, but you can see yourself in our coaches. So I'm the guy that brings things to street level. That's my thing. And so in my classes, it's let's simplify this. It doesn't have to be complicated,
Yeah. And to that point, there's really something for everyone. And there's value in finding true alignment with one of your instructors because you feel seen. You're like, oh, I really connect with this material and this person. And then there's also tremendous value in having the opportunity to get comfortable with diverse voices and exposure to people and minds that you've never encountered before, because that's one of the actual competencies of being a coach, is getting really comfortable with exposure to people who think differently than you do and having the opportunity to just really sit back and detach your own emotional set from what you're experiencing and get down to the learning, the core, the crux, so that you can pull out, what you need to take from the experience. Finally, timing. This is a piece that I think everybody really wrestles with when they're thinking about coming into coach training, that your life has to be perfect in order to be a good coach. That, looking at the prices, coach training programs range anywhere from like $4,000 to over $20,000.
Yeah.
So like, if we're looking at the two biggies of like time and money, what say you?
It's like having kids, you're never going to be ready. And if you're like, well, once I do this or once I get this, then I can do that. You're never going to do it. So I feel like coach training is something that when you feel it in your gut and you have that fire in your belly, you jump in and you find your way, you make it happen. And by the way, those prices compared to grad school is nothing compared to student loans. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. And, I think too about the cost of running a program that delivers truly quality education, right? It's expensive to pay very high level instructors. And I've had folks say to me, well, why should I take your program when I can go to this like 2-day intensive for $23 and get my life coaching certification? And this goes back to my earlier point about the relationship that you're building as a coach is one with yourself. What do you as a coach need to feel that you're qualified? What do you as a coach need to feel that you're in alignment with your own values and ethics? What do you need to feel supported in your voice? And it's true of anything that you get what you pay for. And so if you're approaching coaching from a perspective of being floppy, you will have a more difficult time taking yourself seriously.
Yeah.
All right. So as we're thinking about our humans and our nuggets and everyone who's at this point of saying, do I jump? Do I not? What do I do? What are some of the views from the other side? Because in coaching, we talk about the lighthouse and the flashlight, that when you're a lighthouse, you're beaming out to people in the dark. And when you have a flashlight, you're shining the light on the dark places that people don't want to look. So you and I we took the jump a long time ago. Mm-hmm. What has been the outcome for you in your life?
I always tell people that it's bigger than you. We all have a story, and we can all help other people. We could be a catalyst to many. So don't make it about you. If you feel like this is your path, if you feel like you have an authentic passion to help other people, get out of your own way, because your story, learning to be a coach, that's the easy part. Sharing your story and doing it in a way that's unique to you is going to be greater than you. It's going to give you a cape. It's going to give you purpose. It's going to give you so many things that you don't even know yet. So I think trusting that is, it's scary. I get it, but that's going to be the first domino. And that's step one, trusting your story, know that you're going to be a powerful catalyst.
Yeah. And I think for me, coaching has given me freedom. Mm-hmm. When I started out on the path, there was part of me that thought I was going to be a therapist. There was part of me that I thought was going to be a health coach. And what happened instead is that I've had the opportunity to work as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I've had the opportunity to work in sexual health. I've had the opportunity to work in pharma, in tech, in hospitality, with research firms, with our students as a trainer, and also maintain my private practice. And had I pigeonholed myself in any regard, I would never have had to grow into the experience of what it means to live a growth mindset.
Yeah.
And so, 16 years later from this position, I truly believe that I'm capable of figuring out my next steps in life, whatever they may be. And that sentiment alone came from coaching, because that's what coaching believes. Mm-hmm. And so to not only be armed with that concept, but to have internalized it because I've lived it for over a decade is probably the most powerful thing that comes out of this work.
Yeah, I love that. Come check us out at Lumia and do a deep dive, see what we're about.
Indeed. Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah, everyone, be well. Thanks for listening to Everything Life Coaching. If you're feeling the draw to become a coach, head to lumiacoaching.com/everything. Explore a new career that brings fulfillment, gives you a true sense of purpose, and a bold community to do it with.
Lumia is ready to equip you with the tools, training, and community you will need to reach your goals. If you're ready to build a unique coaching business on your own terms while making an impact on the world at large, Lumia is the next bold step in your coaching journey. That's lumiacoaching.com/everything.
And hey, if you're waiting for a sign, this is it.